Hi, folks. Steve Urban here, founder and CEO at recruiting firm Riderflex. If you enjoyed today's guest interview, please give it a like and be sure to subscribe to the Riderflex podcast. And now, a quick word from our sponsor.
Try the #1 marketing platform for small business. Everything you need from design to marketing to CRM. Learn more at marketing360.com. Marketing 360. Fuel your brand.
Daniel Felt on the Riderflex podcast. How you doing, Daniel?
Doing great. How are you today?
I'm doing fine. You're up in Minnesota?
That is correct. Yeah, enjoying the humid Minnesota summers here.
Now, but August is like the best month? Is that what is the best month in Minnesota?
You know, for me, being an outdoor enthusiast, I think late September through early November is just beautiful. It's like 60s to 70s. The humidity's gone. It's really, really nice. You know, we love the 4 seasons. I think that's why people stay in Minnesota. It gets extremes on both ends. But as an outdoor guy, I absolutely love that October window there.
Are you a hunter? Are you a hunter at all?
Yeah, I love I grew up on a farm, and so we can almost manage the deer out there. So we go whitetail deer hunting before you can do in that area. You can do slug or archery. So I do a little bit of that, and then my dad's got acreage, like I said, so we do pheasant hunting out there. They breed golden retrievers, so we get those guys out and get some pheasant hunting in as well.
Oh, cool. Does he breed the retrievers for a living full time, or that's like a side gig?
That is my mom's full-time job, and my dad is retired from his job, so it's their full-time thing. It's a really incredible story that we went from dirt poor, like my dad's paycheck would come in on Friday, and we would go to town, cash it, get groceries. We grew up that way.
Wow.
They started breeding dogs. They would sell them for like $25, $50, and they wouldn't even sell. So in the newspaper back then, how you sold anything, my mom asked the vet, what am I supposed to do? I don't want to have these puppies turn into dogs. And he said, well, you need to increase your price to $350. And they did, and they all sold in the next week's paper. So today they sell dogs actually for $3,900. They have so many people that are interested in their dogs that you can't even inquire about them. It's just when they have puppies available, they'll send out a newsletter and say, we have 10 puppies were born, and they'll be available in 6 or 7 weeks. And if you're interested, please inquire. And usually in 5 to 10 minutes, they have 10 people that have responded. So really amazing, because they were getting 5-6 calls a day. At one point, Mom's like, I need an admin to feel all these calls.
Right.
So really incredible to grow up through that process and be very active. And the dog chores, it kind of felt like we were dairy farmers at times, because you had to run all the dogs in the morning. We had a half-mile long driveway, and then feed and water, and then run them all in the afternoon and brush and train in the meantime and all that stuff. So pretty cool experience growing up.
You did that before you caught the school bus in the mornings?
Yes. Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah, we had chores because we had my dad, of course, hobby farm out there. So we had a couple cattle, we had chickens. My dad, we would get runt pigs from my uncle. He's a pig farmer, and rather than him getting rid of those, and my dad worked at a milk processing plant. They sell like Hershey's, Kraft, all these big customers. So when all these farmers bring in the milk, he would, rather than them dumping the waste down the drain, he would bring it home and feed these pigs.
I gotcha.
So yeah, it'd be free to raise these pigs, and we'd have the best bacon ever because they were raised on milk rather than corn. It was we were pretty spoiled about it. Not having a lot of money, you found creative ways to feed us all 6 kids.
Gather the eggs too, chickens?
Yep. Oh yeah, all the things.
I love your term hobby farm. Wow, we have a lot in common, my friend. I grew up in Oklahoma, about 20 acres, and I would call it a hobby out in rural area, hobby farm. Dad had, just a few chickens, a pig or two, a horse, a couple of cows, like just enough to keep us busy. Enough to keep us busy, but I don't know if it didn't make any money, right? I don't think.
Right. Yeah, it's the thing with hobby farms is you got to be very intentional about it. Luckily, over time, my parents would accumulate more. They accumulated more acreage, and now it's very self-sustaining. And even if they did stop breeding dogs, the acreage, it pays for itself from renting that out to the farmers. So that's very fun to be part of that.
So you didn't grow. You're not. So many times when people see entrepreneurs that started businesses, the immediate assumption from most people is, oh, okay, well, they must have had some family money. Dad probably gave them a bunch of money to get started, blah, blah, blah. That's not your story.
No, I can dive pretty deep into like the financials on how I started Kura Home,
Yeah.
because growing up, right, we were out picking rock, and I got paid. I think my first job I was paid $4 an hour when I would clock in at our farm. And I'm not that old. I was born in '89. Like I'm not that old. I'm not like I'm not 60, 70, 80 years old here. So that wasn't that long ago. But my parents didn't actually pay us. They put it into a savings account for us.
Oh,
So when
oh.
I was 15, an opportunity came up. My uncle was very involved. He's a big farmer, and he said, an ethanol plant is going to be built not too far from here. And if you're interested in being an early investor, he's like, I think it's worth it. And you can buy some shares. And so my parents asked all of us kids if we wanted to take some of our savings and put it into that ethanol.
At the age of 15? At the age of 15?
Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, exactly. So I bought half a share. I think my family was able to scrunch together enough to buy 4 shares, and mine was half. I took all my savings, I put it into this. So I bought $5,000 worth of an ethanol share, but it was going to pay dividends each year. Okay. And I think the check was like $1,200. And I was like, this is awesome. And then the value of the share kept increasing each year. The dividend check would be between like $1,200 and $1,800 per share. So
I see.
I mean, this is, now we are actually just talking about it not too long ago. I'm like, man, I wish we should have took a loan out and bought as many.
Yeah, right. Wow.
But fortunately, then as I went through school and things like that, I'd work in the summers, pay for school, and work all summer, pay for the next year's tuition. But then it came time to purchase a home, and I first time home buyer deal. I needed to come up with 15 grand, and I sold that share to my parents, and then purchased. That was my down payment towards my house.
How about that? So you paid. All right. So you paid your own down payment on your house, and you also put yourself through school.
Yep, correct. Yeah, my parents were not going to pay for us to get through school. Like when you're at 18, like you're on your own. Like they would borrow us money if we needed like $100 for this or that, but you were on your own for sure.
How many siblings?
There's 6 of us total. I have 4 sisters and 1 brother.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. There was not a lot of extra buying and yeah. I'm sure it was pretty slim at the house. There was 6 kids. Okay. Where are you in the mix?
I am number 4 of 6. So my brother's older than I am, and we're surrounded by 4 girls.
Interesting. Okay. Mom and dad still married, and they're still married, running the.
Yep.
Very glad.
Still married. Yep, happily married. There's 12 grandkids. Number 13's on the way here shortly, and coming for my wife and I. And it's really fun. We're a very close family.
Is this going to be your first kid?
This will be number 2. Yeah, we have a 2-year-old, and then they'll be 2 years apart. So number 2 is coming, and we never find out the gender, so we don't know. We're taking bets on if it's gonna be a boy or a girl. So.
Congratulations, man! All right, got a young family. Got to be okay. Now, how'd you meet your wife?
We actually, I was even intentional. My friends had invited us on a Labor Day camping trip, and to go canoe down a river and camp on an island there, which we found out unfortunately was illegal. Found that out about midnight. But we were on a camping trip, and she was actually dating someone at the time. But being a salesman, I like to think of myself. I eventually, very respectfully, convinced her to go on a date with me after she had broken up with him. And we were on a date, and within 11 months of our first date, we were married. So.
Wow. Okay. So I can almost have a visual here. You're on the campsite, you guys are camped out and whatever, and you got your eye on her and you're like, I think, yeah. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. So at the time I was like, well, I don't know, she's dating someone. It's, it's off limits, right? It's not even available. But then I actually, through social media, I kind of like looked into it a little bit. I was like, wow, this is actually a really interesting person here. And my friends kind of worked as wingmen. And the next time that we met up, I dropped a ton of, hey, I volunteer at my church and youth group. I've got these dogs. And then, I would send her like indirect, like kind of intentionally send her little hints of like, here's my cute golden retriever puppy that I've got going on here. And I pulled out everything that you can do as a salesperson, and it worked because we'll be celebrating 5 years here in October.
That's great, man. Good for you. Does she help with the business, or what does she do? I mean, I know she's busy raising kids too, but what does she do?
Yeah, a very part-time. She helps out with the business. Originally, she came on, was very, very instrumental in the growth of that. And then once we had our first kid, she does stay at home, but she's very gifted in design. So she'll help us design some of the items, graphic design, but it's not like immediate need things. Like she's not on the phones or customer facing.
Okay, very cool. All right. So now you said you've been married 5 years. So let's see, you got married like right around the same time you started the business, huh? Pretty close.
Yeah. So started in 2016 and got married in 2017. And I always tell people that no matter what level of success we see through Kura Home, I will always know that my wife did not marry me for money, because we were not making any money when she met me. And but I was super fortunate. I had some side gigs going on, true to be an entrepreneur. I was renting out the basement of my home. That paid about 2/3 of my mortgage. And then I was boarding and training dogs on the side.
I see.
So between the two, I was actually making about 45K a year. And as a single guy who's, not going out doing extravagant things, that was enough to, pay the bills and pay the mortgage and put food on the table there. So she was for sure the breadwinner when I met her.
So were you doing those side gigs while you were working at Russell Williams, or when you first started your business?
Yeah, yep. So the whole story, bought that home when I was 23. I was working for an agricultural company. My main job there was to create standard operating procedures, SOPs. Okay. My brother called me in 2014 and said, "Hey, I need you as a GM." I was still working that, because one thing that I did in all that time is I actually became a private pilot, and that's really expensive. It's like $7,000 to get that done. And so what I would do is I would train a dog for people. It would cost, between like $700 and $1,200 to train your dog, depending on what plan you picked. And then I could go fly for 7, 8, 9 hours because I just trained the dog, because it's about $100 to fly an airplane per hour. Mm. So I would use that, and that worked out really well for me. So by the time it came, I was working for my brother for 2 years as his GM. We grew the company really quickly. It was really awesome working with him.
It was his company.
Yep. Yeah,
okay.
He owns the company. Yep.
Okay.
And we went from 8 crews to 16 crews in 2 years. It was just explosive growth. It was a really good thing. But the opportunity came up.
Did you have ownership, or you were just his employee?
No, I was just the employee. I asked for ownership a few times, and it was denied. And that might be why I'm here today. But
yeah.
But yeah, it was super fun. And the main thing that I needed to do to feel really confident to start the company is I took a reverse equity line out of my house.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yep, $32,000 equity line. Was, if you weren't using it, it was interest, and that really helped me get through some of the bumps of the first. I think it's in the service industry, it's really hard to make money. I feel like in the first year and a half, if you're trying to scale the business, and so I use that to kind of leverage a few things.
Okay, so you're telling your brand new girlfriend / wife, you're like, "Listen, here's the deal. I'm going to quit my job, but don't worry, I got the dog thing on the side. I got some side gigs. Plus, I'm gonna cash out some equity in my home, and I'm gonna start my own business."
Yeah. What's funny, when we talk about it now, when we look back, at both her mom, her dad had passed when she was younger, but I talked to her mom and her about this now, and they both say they knew that I was always going to be able to take care of Angie, because at Christmas that year, I was talking to them, and I asked my mother-in-law as a widow, "Hey, what are you going to do with your Christmas tree?" She's like, "I don't know, I'll figure it out." And I came home and I was like, I'm going to put an ad up just on like Facebook or Craigslist for free. If anyone wants to get rid of their Christmas tree, I'll pick it up for $25 and I'll take it on to my parents' place. And they said that when they knew that, when they saw that, they knew that I'll always do whatever it takes to make ends meet. Yeah. If it means driving around picking up a Christmas tree and I'll take it out of your house for you. They knew that I was always going to do what it takes to
now that work ethic comes from your parents, I'm sure, and growing up with your brothers and sisters, right?
Yeah, 100%. My dad being a manager in town, they were going to throw out one of those machines that you take your time card and punch it in. And he was like, "No, I'll use it." And so we had to clock in by 8 a.m. And that sounds easy now. My alarm goes off at the 4 o'clock hour. But then you had to clock in by 8. I remember one time running out, and I was barefoot. I was about 8 or 9 years old, and clocking in by 8 a.m. so I didn't get disciplined at the end of the day there. So, but I'm so thankful that we had responsibilities growing up. It was such a gift that my parents gave to us that we were, and they may have been small or minor, but man, I'm very appreciative of that. I
am the same, my friend. Absolutely. Yep. My dad was an oil field worker, and we had that hobby farm, and laziness was not, never even heard that word.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was work or beat audio, one of the two, either way. You're gonna work hard.
Yes. Okay. All right, cool. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. All right. So you start your business in 2016. You had a little, what I call bootstrap cash there. Mm-hmm. Talk to us about the beginning stages. Did you spend the money on a van? How did you get started? Give us those early days?
Yeah. So while I was still employed by my brother, I bought my own pickup truck because he was providing company vehicles. So I bought a company vehicle, knowing that I was most likely going to be servicing higher end homes. I probably spent a little bit too much on a truck, which you want to look nice driving
Yeah.
up, and you learn some of these things.
Yeah.
So bought that, and then that did get half. That vehicle, it was just me. So and I would go out, and then the very first thing that I did was I started calling people that knew my customer before I did. And that kind of worked, but we are so new. Like, I don't even know if I had a website up at the time. I think I had put up like a free website, and then you sit there and you think like the phone's going to ring the next day. I think I went live at like 11 p.m. and that doesn't, the phone doesn't ring. So tried really hard, using, network and calling people. And that was really challenging because people they don't know you. They don't know anything about you. You're not being introduced. It's just like, you're just cold calling them. And you're saying like, hey, maybe we could refer each other. And they're like, oh, how long have you been in business? And it's like, well, I started yesterday full time. It's like, it doesn't quite work out very well.
Hey, Mrs. Potential Client. Listen, I'm brand new. I don't have any reviews. I got no really, I just started. But hire me.
Yeah, right. I was really fortunate. The very first customer that we have, and we still service their home, they actually had purchased a dog for my parents, and I would watch their dogs when they were gone. And I approached them with just indirectly asking for advice. And I said, hey, I'm thinking about starting this company. What do you think? And he was like, he gave me some advice. And he goes, well, call my wife, Erin, and we'll sign up. I'm like, really?
Okay.
I'm like, okay, I'll go. And I ran out of that meeting and I called right away. And they've been one of the best. They've given us such great, honest feedback to help us, get better. And they're awesome. And then got client number 2 that was like a referral from my brother's company, actually. And we still service their home. And then that just kind of kept going. But one thing that I did my brother needed help. He installs Christmas lights. It's a very short season. And his average Christmas light customer is about $8.95. And so that's also my target market for the routine maintenance. So we worked out a deal that he would pay me hourly to go do estimates for these people. I could do about 27 estimates in a day.
Okay.
But the agreement was, hey, at the end of it though, I get to give them one of my flyers and say, if you're interested, I also own a company called Kura Home. We can do your routine maintenance for you.
Well, that was a great way that's a great way to get leads. I mean, yeah. Mm-hmm. Wow. Were you giving your brother like a referral kickback bonus in there? Was he's just taking care of you?
No, it was kind of a you scratch my back, I scratch yours. Okay. He needed someone who can go out and do estimates and be responsible. And I realized I needed the money and the leads. So
okay.
Yeah.
Now what's the all right, I appreciate you sharing. What's the difference between what he does and what you do in servicing homes?
Yep. So he's primarily doing like window cleaning, holiday lights, gutter cleaning, that service. What we do is we visit our clients' homes once a quarter, and we take care of 32 different routine maintenance services, like cleaning your dryer vent, cleaning your AC unit, cleaning your refrigerator coils, change your smoke alarm batteries. Think of like if you got a home inspection and the home inspector was like, hey, if you do all these things, perfectly maintain your home, that's the things that we do. We're like a janitor coming into your home. So that's where we have about 600 routine maintenance clients set up on that. And then the other 50% of our business is air duct cleaning. And that came along in about 2018 when people, because we do the dryer vent cleaning, everyone in their head just assumes that we do air duct cleaning. And I was referring it out. And the guy, at one point, I was doing a couple grand a week, but I had referred him like enough jobs. I was like, if I was doing the jobs that I'm referring to him, I'd be doing double in sales. And he's never even called to say thank you. So I bought a machine. It was a complete piece of junk. I redid everything, and now we still follow that very similar process to what I kind of had reinvented. We buy equipment from like 11 different manufacturers in order to clean air ducts the way that I'm satisfied doing it.
Do you have to be like certified or have a license or something to do that?
No, you don't. Okay. Of course, just your business license. In some states, you do need to have certain certifications to clean air ducts and cut into the duct work and things like that. But in Minnesota and Denver, the 2 states that we service at this time, you do not need a special certificate or license.
Now, at first we were like air duct cleaning. Damn, I don't know. That's hard. That's like physically, like, I don't know if I want to do that.
It's not a very sexy business by any means. But for us, again, it's kind of going back to the Christmas tree analogy, is like, you just kind of got to be willing to do whatever, people are willing to pay you to do this. And maybe we'll become an air duct cleaning business. And realistically, through COVID, when a lot of people were spending time at home and then they were doing remodels, the COVID side of our business really blew up, and it was a really big blessing that we did offer that service.
Okay. And now air duct is 50% of your cleaning.
Yep.
And the rest of it, would it be, I guess, in common or I don't know, language? I'm probably not using the right words, but the rest of the business is maintenance to keep things from breaking and keeping things clean.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, routine maintenance, 100%.
Okay. And tell me what they are again. Refrigerators. What'd you go over them again, if you don't mind?
Yeah. Okay. So we got like 32 services. I'll kind of like walk you through.
Okay.
Like if we came to your house and gave you an estimate, we'd start. We go through your kitchen and we offer everything, but it's all the carte options. So clean your refrigerator coils, provide and change your refrigerator filter. We can polish the stainless steel on the refrigerator, clean and seal your granite countertops, clean your range hood. We can clean and sharpen the garbage disposal, clean the dishwasher filter, and clean the dishwasher as well. And then all the stainless steel appliances, we can clean those as well for you. In the laundry room, there's a lot of washing machines now have a filter on them. We clean that for you. Then a lot of the rubber seals on washing machines get filthy, so we clean that out. The dryer vent, the interior and exterior. I don't know, of all of our clients, I don't think anyone has not selected exterior dryer vent cleaning because it's so important. And then cleaning bathroom fans as well.
Oh, that's room. Yeah, mine needs to be cleaned right now because every time I go in there, I look up, the fan's ready to go out.
Yeah, exactly. But it's been that way forever, and you don't get to it. So, then the utility room, every utility room is a little bit different. But providing and changing the furnace filter, the water pad or the humidifier filter, clean the air exchanger, providing and installing the water softener salt, checking the sump pump, testing that, make sure it's getting water out and away from the foundation, and I think draining water heater sediment. And then on top of that, there's a lot of other like little minor things. Exterior, we're cleaning the AC unit, which is super important. But then like even changing the ceiling fan direction, and then cleaning the ceiling fan. We do that in spring and fall, so it's rotating the correct direction, providing and changing smoke alarm batteries. We also provide fire extinguishers for our customers now as well.
Okay.
So all kinds of cleaning drains. We do all these little things that it like, imagine your father-in-law coming to town and then you were like, oh, I forgot you were coming. Can you just find something to do for the day? Everything he would do. That's exactly what we do.
Okay, great. Love it. Can you also fix stuff that's broke?
So we try that. And this is part of my failure, right? So we doing the routine maintenance, like right now, if you hired us, our guys would show up in a van. We don't have a skill saw, we don't have a hammer, we don't have any of that stuff.
I see.
We did offer handyman services starting in 2021, and it took off like crazy. We had 11 handyman crews running. We started in February of 2021. And by November, we had 11 handyman crews running. It was
separately. So these are guys in a different vehicle aside from the cleaning people.
Yes.
You couldn't combine it. You couldn't make it the same van, the same person.
No, let me tell you, it is. It might seem really simple, like, hey, I'm going to fix this drywall patch at my home, right? And a lot of people can just take care of that, as for an example, or change a doorknob, right? Okay. But then the people that are hiring you to do that at their home are stereotypically very particular individuals, and they want it to be done really, really, really well because they're hiring you to do it. And so managing customer expectations, the amount of time that it takes guy 1 through 11 to get that job done so it's profitable, all these things, there's so many different variables. And then, if you and I both took time and all the listeners and said, hey, let's write down a list of the top 10 things that a handyman should do, we would all have a giant list. They'd all be different because the expectations of what a handyman can do. One person thinks a handyman can change a light bulb, and the next one thinks that he's going to come and put a new deck in or add an addition to their home. So the expectations were insanely hard. And handyman, and if I offend anyone, I'm sorry, but they're cowboys. They're very hard to manage, and it was just really, really tricky. And around the same time, with inflation, prices were changing very rapidly. So we'd have to be like, hey, your quote is good for like 2 weeks, if you want this done, because the materials are going to change. And then they're like, well, I'll just buy the materials. And then like they buy the wrong thing, or, it was very, very difficult. The nice thing is if I come to your home and say, I'm going to clean your air ducts, are they clean? Yes or no? Like, yes, they're clean, or did they change the filter? Yes or no? Yep, I changed your furnace filter. With the variables of handyman, back to the sheetrock example, you got to come back 3 times. That's really expensive to get a guy to your home 3 different times. So unfortunately,
it's very interesting that you talked about the difficulty of maybe transitioning or adding the handyman service, because even today in the town I live in Colorado, if you just Google handyman or you try to find one, First of all, there are no real successful franchised deals. There's just not really.
Right.
And then maybe you see somebody pop up on Google, but they don't return your call, or they're out of business already, or whatever.
Mhm.
It is very hard to find a dependable long-term handyman where you can just be like, "Hey Joe, can you pop over?" And I mean, it's hard. And
Right.
the big thing, I had experience at one point in my life as a consultant trying to corral real estate agents who are also
Mhm.
cowboys
Yeah.
and want to do their own thing, right? Kind of.
Mhm.
You know, they may have Remax on their door, but they want to do it their way. Yeah, trying to get handyman type people to like follow a process or turn in paperwork or stuff. No.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's very challenging. And we tried everything. The plus side that we had is we got up to the point where we had 5 CSRs answering phones. So hey, you
Wow.
called in, like we'll answer the call for sure. And we're gonna answer your email. Like our goal is to answer an email within 5 minutes.
Okay.
We were doing it, right? Like we're getting it. But
Yeah.
the problem is where we were falling short is really the best advice I received before I started all the handyman stuff is a guy told me, he's like, your challenge is that craftsmanship is not scalable. And you're going to have a very hard time getting this craftsmanship to teach all these other guys how to
Yes,
do
it's
it.
tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
Very
And
tough.
that's
Okay.
really,
So,
that's really
before, I want to make sure for the listeners, when you were doing your cleaning, sir, how many cleaning van crew people did you have before you tried to add the handyman service?
Yeah, so we added our first crew in 2018. Shortly after, added a second crew. As soon as I bought a van and I started going out selling, we quite quick. So I got 2 vans in 2018. I got a third. COVID hit in 2020. We were running I had bought a 4th vans. We were running like 3.5 vans.
Okay.
COVID hit. Everything froze for the month of March. Then all of a sudden the phones started ringing like crazy. We went from 4 to 9 crews by August of 2020.
When you say crew, is that one guy in a van, 2 guys in it? What does a crew mean?
It's hard to understand, but it's 1.5 guys per crew. So if it's an easier day or if a guy calls in sick, we always have. So if we're running 10 crews, we try to have 15 technicians that can be in those vans. And so if it's a lighter day, you're solo, and someone's always being trained in that way. You're always kind of. It's really helped us with our quality to have that 1.5 guys per crew.
Okay, and were you running these guys as 1099 contractors or employees?
All employees.
All employees, and the vans were leased or you bought them?
We purchased them and we financed them.
Okay. All right. And then when did you venture off? You kind of, you steered off and tried the handyman. What year and month was that?
Yeah. So we really went insane in 2021. I think looking back, it may have been, I think I should probably do a self check because we launched into Denver in August of 2020. So we had a total of 10 crews running. Then in the spring of 2021, we launched Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, Austin, Atlanta, Georgia, and Chicago.
Okay, now when you say launch, this is not a franchise deal. This is just you hiring a guy in those cities with a van. Okay, got it.
So we're like boom, boom, boom. I mean, we're firing all cylinders, and we start the handyman stuff in Minnesota. Then we do Denver, then Dallas, then Atlanta. And I mean, it's like boom, 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 boom. It's as fast as you can go, running on all cylinders and trying to train people in. We went from like 20 employees to 52 in like 3 months. It was loony. Like looking back, I'm like, I don't even know. And somehow, like my golden rule is I don't miss dinner with my family. And I was home every night. Like I don't know how it was done. I do know how. I hire really awesome people. That's like the people on our team are really great. So that's how it was really done. But looking back, I think it's absolutely nuts that we did all that stuff. And also in that year, we did switch to a franchise model. We got all of our FDD, all that stuff ready, and we're now selling franchises. So all that happened in 2021.
Wow. And you stopped the handyman service also within a 12 month. You started and stopped it. What'd you do with all that? What'd you do with all the equipment, the vans and everything for the handyman stuff?
The vans, because of inflation, I made 10 grand on them. I sold them.
Wow. Okay.
I made a ton of money. The equipment, I like. The handyman, I was actually, I think for me as a person, I really enjoy helping people. Like I have a ton of people that speak in my life, and in return, I try to bring that full circle and try to help. And so these handyman who were like, working for us, we try to be as transparent as possible. Hey, here's the deal. Like this isn't sustainable. And because we got to the point where they would come back and they would fill in their hours, what they charge the customer, and what they bought in materials. And they'd either get a red day or green day, green being profitable, red not. And it would be like red, green, like a million more reds. And so they're seeing that, hey, we're not profitable. And so I actually helped, I believe 2 or 3 of them start their own company, their own LLCs.
Cool.
Go out and be one man
Okay.
handyman companies. And so they, purchased some of the materials or some of the equipment, and then we sold some of it for, pennies on the dollar, of course, because now you've used one, so it's only worth half of what it was. But the vans we're probably going to play capital gains on the vans because
How about that?
Yeah, we purchased them and sold them for about 10 grand more than we bought them for.
Wow. That's interesting. Okay. So as of today, and for the listeners, but what is Kura? What is that? What is that? I don't know what that word, I didn't look up the definition. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. When I was going to start the company, as working for my brother's company, people ask all the time, what does Russell Williams mean? And it was his middle name and his roommate's middle name paired together, even though he was a sole owner. So I knew people were going to ask all the time. And so I didn't want to name it Felt's Home Maintenance. I thought that sounded really weird. Okay. And so I was Googling words that meant to care for. And if you spell it Cura, in Italian, that means to care for. Oh. But quite a few companies had beat me to it. And so I changed it to Kura because that's a word that doesn't exist. And Kura LLC was available. KuraHome.com was available and very symmetrical, which I really appreciated. And so I decided, hey, that's easy enough. And some people call it Kura. Some people say Kura. I don't really care as long as you can find out how to contact us to hire us.
What is the correct way to pronounce it?
I say Kura, like you're going to cure a disease.
See.
Cure cancer. Okay. But I don't. But there's not even a correct way. It's because I made up the word, but I say it's Kura.
Okay, just so you know, I went on pronounce.com and several places before the podcast. I'm like, how do you pronounce it? Let me make sure I'm pronouncing this right.
I appreciate your efforts, but I wouldn't have been offended if you completely butchered it.
Okay, by the way, for the listeners, QURAHome.com. QURAHome.com. And what cities are you servicing right now with the cleaning?
So we're currently in Denver, Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Okay, and if you're interested, you can go to the website. By the way, also just, real quick before I forget, Daniel Felt is also on LinkedIn. I don't know. Are you a big LinkedIn guy? Do you want people to connect with you there? What's your?
Yeah, you want to get connected with me personally, go on there. I'm the horrible guy that I'm there scrolling. I'm reading through all your stuff but I'm not super active. I post and I share stuff all the time. Like if we're on a, awesome podcast like this, but I do post regularly. If you send me a message there, you're going to get directly to me and I will answer that. So that's the best way to get connected to me personally.
Okay. How many employees right now?
Right now we downsized. We got all the way back down to 18 employees.
Yeah. Well, you had to when you made that pivot. Yeah. I mean, the fact that you've only been in business since 2016 and you scaled up that fast and then you had to pivot and grow and then cut it back. I mean, first of all, it's challenging to run a service business on a regular day when you throw in massive scaling growth and or a pivot to a different type of business and then take that back out. I mean, that's hard to do, man. That is very difficult to do.
Yeah, thank you. It's extremely challenging, not only like on an emotional level, right? Trying to keep everyone, you want to keep people happy. You want your employees first, right? And then, and you hope that your employees then can take care of your customers and keeping customers satisfied. And the handyman stuff was really difficult to keep customers and employees satisfied. Yeah. And that's why we pulled back to the routine maintenance and the air duct cleaning services. And those are great.
Yeah. 18. So you got 18 employees. How many vans or how many vehicles?
Yeah, so we're back down to where we were in 2020. We run 9 in Minnesota and 1 in Denver, but we've got a gentleman about 99% of the way through the franchise sales process. He's working through financing in Western Florida. So
okay, is that going to be your first franchise?
That will be franchise number 1.
Did you hire a consultant or a company to help you put a franchise packet / program together? Talk to us about that. Give the listeners some education around that.
Yeah, so I helped my brother franchise his company, and we spent an insane amount of money doing that, like $150K. And so what I did when I decided to, because we had a ton of people contacting us, and people would offer like, hey, can I pay you to come spend a week with you? Because I want to start this in Orlando, Florida. And I was like, I don't know, I might open a location there. Like, no, blah, blah, blah. But I would give them like a few tips or advice in a 45-minute conversation or whatever. And then it started happening almost like monthly, where people are contacting us from all over the country. And then it was happening in areas that I would never open a corporate location because there's like 90,000 people there. So I was like, well, what's stopping us from give the people what they want? So called my brother. I said, hey, I know you spent a ton of money on all this legal documentation, and he did not do it. I go, can I use it? And he's like, I don't care what you do, whatever. He's like, it doesn't matter to me. So then I contacted a lawyer and I said,
change the name.
Yeah. Alt F or Control F, right? Change the names. And I spent probably half day a day doing that, and it ended up costing me a total of about $12,000 to get to the point where we can legally sell a franchise in the unregistered states. Then there's about 13 states that you need to get registered in, and those are like a couple $100, $600-700, depending on the state to get registered.
And what's it going to be? I don't know how much information you want to share, how much of it's top secret, but do you want to share how much it costs to get in, and then what percentage you got to pay a month, or what's the startup cost?
Yeah, for sure. Yep. So if you want to start in, say, Daniel, tell me everything you've ever learned, give us our 600-page manual, and plus get, training from you daily and weekly as you start. It's $45K to buy in. Then you need to purchase a van and about $7,000 worth of equipment. So you can finance that, or you can go buy a $100,000 Mercedes van. I don't care what you do, but I'm going to tell you to buy, a nice $25,000 van without rust and finance it. And you can get, it's the startup cost is between $60,000 and $125,000.
60 and 120. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that includes everything. And you don't need a warehouse. You can run this out of your garage in the beginning. And so it's in my opinion, affordable franchise.
And what's your take per month from yeah?
Yep. So we collect 7% royalty fee, which is the most common standard. If you're not familiar with franchises, that's like the most standard across the top 7%. We do collect an additional 2%, and that's for marketing. So we're going to do all of your marketing for you, your blogs, social media, Pinterest, YouTube, all that stuff. And then once you get to the point, we're probably going to lose money on that for the first few years. Once you get to the point where you pass that, we'll start marketing in your area for you, like actual paid spend in your region.
Okay. Based on my experience, because I've run a few companies before Riderflex, and one of them had franchisees, and the marketing thing can get sticky because they're like, well, I'm giving you this much money for marketing and you didn't put a post, and I don't like that one post and that one blog, and la 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 la. I've been down that road.
Yeah, I'm right there with I am hesitant on that. We're gonna try it out. And I think this first franchisee is gonna be a huge test and measure, right? And see, and so I think what we put in place, here's the minimum that we're gonna do for you, right? Just give the can foresee that being an issue as well. I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah, it'll be a challenge. Let me ask you this: have you already? I'm sure you've drawn out the math on this, where you're able to show them a trajectory or a financial model or whatever to say, look, if you just invest $100,000, here's where we see the first 6 months, 12 months. This is what it looks like. Do you have that all blown out to where they can see that?
Unfortunately, we can't do that. Like we can't really guarantee any of that. All I can tell you is what I've done. So I can show, here are my numbers and here's what I did in my area with my demographics. And so it's a lot of like, and if I was in your area doing the exact same thing. So we've had like this first gentleman, for example, send us a pro forma. And he's a very analytical guy. And so it's probably more in depth than even my P&L. And he's saying, hey, does this look realistic to you? And so my answer is, well, I believe that this is an achievable thing if I was there doing what I know to do, and based on the demographics that I assume are in your area, right? It's a bunch of like, I think it's realistic. So a lot of it was him coming down to like, hey, here's what I think it's going to cost for like internet and rent, these realistic numbers. And so it's like,
okay. Is that a legal thing where you can't provide the pro forma because you might get sued or whatever? How does that work?
Yeah. So like, I think when you fast forward, like, let's say it's 6 months and you create the pro forma for this gentleman, and he buys the franchise and he puts the website up and he thinks the phone's going to ring. I thought the phone was going to ring and it doesn't. Now he's saying, well, but look, here's a pro forma that you gave to me and you said I was going to make $100K in month 6. And it's like, hold on now, what have you all done? So that's where you have to be really careful on that. And most people seem to understand, it's always like the 1% that you got to be like, hey, this person who bought it, but we're not like I think there's a lot of people doing like 1099 exchanges to get some of these passive income franchises, and we're not dealing with those people. I mean, this is a active owner operator, like you're sick of corporate world, or you want to be an entrepreneur, or you love the recurring subscription model.
All right. So that was going to be my question. Can you make money with one van and one franchise if you bought it and opened it, but you're not active in it and you have to pay an employee to drive the van? Can you make money, or do you have to have several?
Well, that's where I have to say it depends on what you're paying the person. For me, again, I got to dance around this legal line. For me, it was I was making money at two crews for me at the amount that I was paying my technicians.
Were you one of the crew? Were you one of the crews?
No, I was
Okay.
strictly, I was doing sales and networking.
Okay.
So once we got two
All right.
crews running, I was not in the
Okay.
field anymore.
Okay. Yeah. So it's kind of like the subway model. You got to own 2 or 3 of them before you really start making money.
Yeah. Well, crews. Yep. Yeah, for sure. It's not the goal to be either you're an owner operator, which is we kind of want to stay away from that, even though we know that there's going to be a lot of people that are just, hey, I want to own my own job, and you're an owner operator and you do that, and we've given you all the systems and process job. But the goal is to get people that are like, hey, how fast can I get to 3 crews, then 5, 7, 9, 10? Like, how fast can I get to, $1 million? That's a lot of the conversations that we're having with people, and we can just give them like, hey, here's what it took for us to get to $1 million.
Okay. Have you thought about financing or providing some sort of financial help to get them into a van and get them supplies and then let them pay you back for that on top of? Have you thought about doing that or no?
Yeah, a little bit. Right now, we're like approved through the SBA as a approved company, and so like this first individual is seeking financing through the SBA, which I think is best. But I think in the future, and talking to other people, we have been recommended that we should just finance these guys and get them going. I think the most important part is do whatever it takes to sell number one, right? And what does that look like? And so, do you reduce that 45K investment? What do you do? Because once you get number one, and if that individual's doing successful, my understanding is that most people are looking to buy into a franchise. They're all going to call franchisee number one and say, "How's it going?" Daniel? Daniel said he's going to train me. Yep. Did he train you? All this stuff. So that's what I think is most important at this point.
I mean, what's worst case scenario? If you finance them, if you figure out a way to finance them and just get them going, okay. If they screw up or they can't pay you, fine. Then you just hire an employee in Austin to run what you already bought. I mean,
yeah, I mean, that is worst case scenario for me as an individual. Where I'm really focusing on right now is how do I get away from. Granted, I love all my employees. Like I feel like we're at a really nice spot right now, but it's very difficult to manage people 1,000 miles away. They think, oh, you're just you're just sitting at home and raking in all this cash or whatever. And it's like, no, actually we broke even last month, or whatever it is, right? And so that's really challenging when you get away from that personal, like, giving a guy, bringing in donuts to the morning meeting or things like that. You get away from that and it becomes really challenging. So for me as a person right now, I'm really focusing on short-term rental investments and selling these franchises and then getting more routine maintenance clients. And I like to think of them as actively passive income, where I have to be active in this, I have to be involved in it, but I'm not the one that's like making sure that Joe showed up to work on time, because that's stuff that really drains my energy. I like highlighting the big things, high-level things, motivating and encouraging people to give it their best.
Understood. Passive income is the golden ticket, my friend. If you can,
For sure. Yeah. So I feel young, but I've got my binoculars on the long term, trying to get some of those things in place.
Isn't it interesting how employees they always assume the owners or founders are making all this money? We at Riderflex, you probably know this. So Riderflex, we're a recruiting firm. Our day job is a recruiting and staffing firm, right? The podcast is a marketing thing for us, and we have fun with the podcast. It helps with the marketing for our recruiting firm, to continue to get leads and referrals. But with our business, with the recruiting firm business, I share way more than most CEOs. Now, I didn't do this in my younger years when I was in a CEO as an employee working for other people. But now that I own a business, Riderflex, I tell them, I'm like, look, here's what me and Scott are making. You can see, here's our payroll right here. This is what we're paying ourselves. Here's the income statement. Here's how much cash we had. And by the way, out of the 20 recruiters we have, 12 of you made more than I did last year. So here you go. This is it right here.
Yeah, exactly.
And that really, I think I encourage startup founders to do that because if they, I think employees like seeing information. That way they don't feel like you're trying to hide something, whatever. Right. The other thing I do is, Kim and I, my wife and I, we still live in a little wood frame, 1953, 2,000 square foot home in Johnstown, Colorado. I try to get people to come to my house as much as possible because I want to show them, look, this is where I live. You see where I live? Okay. Now you've seen my paycheck. You see where I live. So please don't think that we're just, you're working hard and we're just sitting around.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I do think it's a lot of questions can be answered by explaining and going through the P&L with your employees.
Yes, absolutely.
And you don't have to go into super detail, but explaining that, hey, I understand we all want more, and
sure,
or, goes in the top line, and it just needs to get to the bottom line. It's a very simple process. We just need to reduce what's in between here, and doing that has really answered.
Yes, I totally agree. Yeah, I totally agree. Can you still hear me, Daniel? You froze up on me just a little bit. Daniel? Kick back in. Daniel, can you hear me? You got me now?
Yep.
I'll have Brianna. I just made a note. I'll have Brianna clean that up right there.
Okay.
Great point about the income statement. Yeah, a lot of answers, a lot of worry and skepticism. I mean, so many things can be. I also tell them too. Several of the employees, I say, hey, here's how much cash we have in the bank, and by the way, there's not $5 million of backup emergency cash in there. So if we don't hustle every day,
right. Yeah,
100%. Very good.
Yeah,
It sounds like you're having fun building what you've built. And now hey, kudos to you, man, for pivoting to the handyman stuff, then having to pivot out of it. And now very quickly pivoting into franchise. I mean, and trying to run your daily business.
Yeah. It's definitely, it is challenging. It's been a really interesting year as an entrepreneur, right? Because sometimes I feel unemployable. I couldn't go work for anyone else.
Is that because you like doing your own thing and it would be hard to control you?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I think I'm also kind of a cowboy. So then it's I'm my own worst enemy, but there's that, but then it's sometimes you feel really lonely and as an entrepreneur and that's the best thing that I've ever, I think I've read it or told a mentee or whatever, but is that the higher you get up in an organization, the fewer people are there to say thank you to you, because usually people say thank you to the people below. So as you work your way up, it's less and less and less, and sometimes you need that more and more and more because you're making these hard decisions and you just feel like everyone's against me, right? It's me against the world, and then you get a bad Google review or something and it's man, and so it is really challenging. But I just really want to encourage any entrepreneur or anyone working their way up in the business that if you're trying to do a good job, you probably are doing a really good job, and I'm sure a lot of people really appreciate you, but sometimes maybe it's your spouse or a few people here or there that tell you you're doing a good job, but it's keep on doing, and you are changing lives when you're an entrepreneur or higher up in management.
That's
you're,
right.
You're doing a lot for people, and sometimes they don't say thank you every single day, but if you really get down on a one-to-one level with them, usually people are really appreciative for what's going on.
Being a CEO and a business owner it's lonely at the top, man. It's cold at the top of the mountain. There's not a lot of kudos, not a lot of love because you're passing out the love, right? Your job is to pass out love and motivation. Right. So rarely does it come back your way. And of course, then when you have a wife like mine who she can hear me talking, she's sitting right over there. We have a wife like mine. My wife is a wonderful human being, but she's not cuddly, huggy. I'm going to tell you, you're awesome every day. Right. Yeah. So I don't get that at home either. So sometimes I'm like, damn, I need somebody to tell me I'm doing a good job today.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a lot, very, very educational for me. But I think I'm now in 2 networking groups where I meet with
good, great,
and I'm in with 90 people on Wednesday mornings and about 40 on Thursday mornings, and it's
wonderful.
It's really great to just be along other people that are also doing crazy things. So
I highly recommend it for the listeners. I know we're almost out of time here. I highly recommend. And even if you can't afford to pay to be in a group, surround yourself with CEO buddies, friends, just somebody that you can call and be like, damn, Mary, have you ever experienced this? Like, oh, damn, just You gotta, because you can't talk to your employees about everything, right? And you sure as heck can't call your team and say, "Hey team, I'm having a really tough day today emotionally. I'm kind of down and depressed. I just wanted to tell you." Like you can't do that, right?
Right.
And so you got to have people you can call. Very important. You know, I surrounded myself early on with an advisory board member at Riderflex, and I have 5 or 6 people that I can call anytime and be like, "Hey man, has this ever happened to you? What do you think about this?" And that is very important to have that outlet. All right, my friend, last question. I know we're almost out of time here. So, well, 2 questions actually. Do you want to franchise this thing out and then eventually sell it, or have a long-term family business that's just selling franchises? What is your long-term plan?
Yeah, I think that really depends on how things go. If we can continue to recruit really great people, my ultimate goal, which it used to be donate. At one point my goal is to donate $20 million over the course of my lifetime.
Oh.
And I read a few books and I was like, you know what? I think that my goal should be to donate $100 million over the course of my life.
Really?
And
that
is
wow.
Yep. So that is
to a specific organization, a specific cause, a specific group.
Yeah, if you looked at our P&L, that we give like $100 here, $300 to these guys, like all different things. Some of them are helping, like my youngest sibling has Down syndrome, and we donate money there because it's like people that help parents that are just found out their child's gonna have Down syndrome and help answer some of those questions. Other people are feeding people in Kenya and introducing the word to them. So there's all sorts of different. One of them is Hope International. They are helping mostly women in third world countries start businesses rather than, it's the give a man a fish, teach a man to fish type deal. So things that have really pulled on our heart, and I'm nowhere near the 100 million. I can tell you that right now. But the long-term plan, right, is to continue building actually passive income. So that at one point when I want to start getting rid of some of these things, the funds are there before I pass away to give that away. So one day my ultimate goal for Kura Home is to celebrate 100 years. That's how do you get to 100 years, right? And
so all right, there you go. So celebrate 100 years and donate. What'd you say? 100 million.
100 million. Yeah.
I mean, if the company can hit those 2 goals, now to be around 100 years, one of your kids is probably going to end up having to run it.
Yeah, my kids or kids. Yeah, because So we'll see where it goes. So I'm excited. So I would love it if one day the employees buy me out, or my kids continue running it, or one day I might accept an offer that I can't refuse. But I know I'll probably never retire. I love working. I love actively doing things, and so between the real estate and short-term rentals and Kura Home, the franchises, I'm going to keep working to get there.
Daniel, I was going to ask you what your core purpose was, but you pretty much already answered it. So you've wrapped it up for me, my friend. Thank you for being on the Riderflex podcast and sharing your story. Appreciate it, sir.
Yeah, thank you. It was awesome to be here. Really appreciate the conversation today.